In 2 months, about 500 Russian prisoners recruited by Yevgeny Prigozhin for the Wagner private military company were killed in Ukraine. Such data has been published by the Russian edition of The Insider. Apparently, this is why the head of the mercenary army has decided to expand his business and announced the creation of training centers for fighters right in the regions of Russia. And he already wants to replenish the thinning ranks of his private army not only with prisoners but also with the local population. At the same time, Prigozhin prefers to call them militia.
In my opinion, the militia should consist of the first line of defense, which lies entirely with the residents of this area. In order to provide the material component of the militia, I believe that we do not need to turn to the government agencies, but to lay responsibility on regional businesses. Yevgeny Prigozhin, founder of Wagner private military company, on Telegram.
The first line of defense, according to Prigozhin, is the Belgorod and Kursk regions. Through his press service, the owner of a private army has told how he'd seen the future life of local residents.
If you are the owner of a small factory that employs 100 people and 50 of them are sexually mature males, then 25% should serve in the trenches and 75% should continue their labor activity, and so on in a circle. 1 week in the trenches, 3 weeks at home and at work. Yevgeny Prigozhin, founder of Wagner private military company, on Telegram.
And this is amid the news that partial mobilization in Russia is supposedly over. But it is not for Prigozhin. Prigozhin, who for several years hid the fact that he had anything to do with the Wagner PMC, has recently become a media person. He has even built the PMC Wagner Center in St. Petersburg. It is called a cultural center for patriotic citizens there, such a palace of creativity for adults. But the real goals of Prigozhin and his Wagner fighters are far from cultural.
In fact, it is a parallel army structure and is located in the grey area, has a media resource and ideology, which is important. The issue of Ukraine is secondary. They want to get power.
Prigozhin's task is to become irreplaceable for Putin, or maybe even rise to the very top of the Kremlin hierarchy.
Partially, the dependence of the Russian army and the entire war that Putin has started depends on these private military companies. They matter on certain sectors of the front line.
The Wagner fighters near Bakhmut are now quite dissatisfied. They fulfill Prigozhin's ambitions with their lives. Once he owned an ordinary restaurant business in St. Petersburg. There he met Putin. Then he began to receive government orders for food for the Ministry of Defense of Russia. And later he turned out to be a monopolist in providing schools' canteens in Moscow. All this became possible thanks to the relations between Prigozhin and Putin and the services that the owner of the Wagner PMC provides the president of Russia.
He already claims a special role in Putin's far circle, not yet in a close one, and he needs to strengthen this role. Prigozhin is certainly trying to increase his importance, that he is not just collecting some prisoners. Therefore, he needs even more power and, most importantly, resources for this.
Prigozhin's appetite will not become more modest. This means that there is a high probability that Wagner fighter training centers may open in other regions of Russia. Reported by Dana Kolesnik, Angelika Brushnevska, UATV News.